All right, let's keep going. A bus traveled 220 kilometers in 4 hours. Find its average speed. Okay, so the average speed is different from the speed in this way. Usually, when you're talking about your, usually when you're talking about a speed that's read off of a speedometer, like how fast your car is going, it's talking about the instantaneous speed or the speed you are going at that particular instant in time. Whereas your average speed is basically your speed over the course of the entire trip. A bus traveled at 220 kilometers per hour in 4 hours. Let me get back to this discussion. Let's talk about it. 220 kilometers in 4 hours. All right. I basically want to figure out what this is in kilometers per hour. I'll take 220 divided by 4. That's pretty straightforward. 4 goes into 250 times. The answer is 55. So apparently this bus driver is driving 55 kilometers per hour. Does that mean that every single instant in time, this bus driver, this trip took 220 kilometers and it took the bus driver 4 hours? Does that mean that for 4 hours exactly, the bus was going 55 kilometers per hour that entire time? No. That just means that the average speed that this bus driver was traveling at is 55 kilometers per hour. When the bus driver is at a stoplight, that bus driver is not going any miles per hour or kilometers per hour. When this bus driver is on the freeway, this bus driver could be going over 55. But if we were to average it out, then the average would be 55. Does that make sense? So the instantaneous speed isn't 55. The average speed is 55 because the bus driver could be going different speeds at any instant in time. But overall, if you were to average up all of those different instantaneous speeds, you would get 55 kilometers per hour, the average speed. I know that's a full discussion for something that might not necessarily seem relevant. And it is important, but I just kind of want to talk to you about that. All right, let's do this next one. Mary walked 534 meters in 6 minutes. Find her average speed. All right, 534 meters for every 6 minutes. All right, you simply have to divide 534 by 6. I don't know how to do that off the top of my head, so let's just do it the slow way. 534 divided by 6. How many times does 6 go in 5? None times. How many times does 6 go in 53? Let's see, 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 36, 42, 48, and then, so 8 times. This is 48. Subtract this down. This is 5, 4, 9. So it's 89 meters for every 1 minute. Usually if it's just 1 minute on the bottom, I don't write the 1. That's why we usually write it as 89 meters per minute. Because the 1's there, we just didn't write it. All right. A train traveled at 245 kilometers at an average speed of 70 kilometers per hour. What was the time taken? Okay, this is a good one. 245 kilometers, and the train was going 70 kilometers per hour. Now, I want to take my time and I want to multiply it by a ratio. The ratios that I can choose from, I'll tell you which two. It's going to be 70 70 kilometers with 1 hour on the bottom. Okay. Or I can choose 1 hour on the top and 70 kilometers on the bottom. Both of these ratios are saying the same thing. You go 70 kilometers in 1 hour, or in 1 hour you go 70 kilometers. Which of these fractions would you choose? I'll tell you which one I would choose. I would choose the second one. You could use either or. Actually, you can't use either or. There's a right one to choose, and the right one to choose is this one. And I'll tell you why. Because think of this 70 or 245 kilometers as 245 kilometers over the number 1. That's fair. No one can argue with that. I'm going to multiply this by the ratio that I chose. I chose the one that had kilometers on the bottom because I have kilometers up on top here in the 245. And I want it to cancel out with the kilometers on the bottom there. That's why I didn't choose the one that had hours on the bottom. I chose the one that had kilometers on the bottom. I can simply cancel these out. And look at the units I'm left with. I'm left with the units of hours. That's a good thing, because that's exactly what I wanted. Let me see something though. Let's see. This is page 77, number 8. Okay. So, how many times does 70 go into 245? Well, let's do that on the side. 245 divided by 70. 0, 0. 7, 14, 21. So 3 times, that's 210. Drop this down. This is a 5 and a 3. So add a decimal. 0 there. 70 goes into 355 times. That's perfect. So the answer is 3.5. Hours. And I know it's hours because look at the units. Kilometers here cancel out with the kilometers here, and the hours is the only units that are left over. Look which equation that I used, actually. I used this equation. The speed is 70, so this is actually the distance times 1 over the speed is equal to the time. This is that third equation. I didn't even need to recognize, oh, I need to use the third equation or whatever, and to figure out my answer. I just looked at the units. I knew that I had to divide because I wanted to put the 70 in the denominator. Does that make sense to you? All right, let's try this other one. Amber walked 720 meters to her house, or from her house to the market. Her average speed for the trip was 90 meters per minute. How long did she take to walk? Okay. So she went 720 meters, and her average speed was 90 meters per minute. So 90 meters 1 minute. I can use this fraction as my ratio, or I can use the inverse of that. And what I mean by the inverse is you just take this and flip it over. I can make it 1 meter over 90 minutes. I'm going to choose the inverse. The reason being is because I want the meters here to cancel out with the meters here, because they were asking how long did it take. I want my answer to be in minutes. What is 720 divided by 90? Well, that's pretty easy, I think. That's just 8, isn't it? What are the units? Okay, well, this meters cancels out with that meters, and I'm left with minutes. See? That minutes right there. So that's a good way to solve these problems and know which of those three equations to use by just looking at all these ratios. Like I said, this stuff is important, and I think it's good for you to understand these things and learn this. All right. Hopefully that helps.